A head floated above the ground, laughing as it hovered in the air. The drums had not sounded yet, but something in the village of Aketu already felt wrong. It began with whispers, not the playful kind that followed festivals or weddings, but the kind that traveled quietly from mouth to mouth, carrying unease. By the time the sun leaned westward, everyone had heard the same thing. A stranger had arrived.
He didn't come alone.
See those men with him? What are they carrying?
He came with men who did not speak, men who moved when he moved and stopped when he stopped. He came with boxes of fine cloth, cowries that shone like freshly washed shells, and gold that caught the sun without effort. He rolled into the village as if he had always belonged there. And yet, no one could say where he came from. His name, he said, was Oriola. Tall, handsome, calm in a way that made people uneasy. By evening, every young woman in Aketu had seen him. By nightfall, every parent had felt fear settle in their chests. In the largest compound at the edge of the village lived Olajumoke Oyedeji. She was known for her beauty before she was known for anything else. Skin smooth as shea butter, eyes that never lowered unless she chose to. She was the only daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Oyedeji, people known for kindness, patience, and restraint. They loved their daughter deeply. She did not love instruction.
Jumoke, come inside. You've stared long enough.
Olajumoke did not turn. Her eyes were fixed on the road where the stranger had passed hours earlier, yet his presence still lingered like smoke.
You worry too much. Let me stare just a little longer.
That had always been her answer. When warned, she smiled. When corrected, she laughed. When advised, she did as she pleased. Her parents had spoken to her many times about humility, about patience, about listening. They had reminded her that beauty fades and choices remain. But Olajumoke had grown used to being admired, and admiration had hardened her ears. The next morning, Oriola stood before the elders. He bowed politely. He spoke clearly. He had come, he said, to take a bride from Aketu. A silence fell. The elders exchanged glances. Questions followed. Where was he from? Who were his people? Which land did he rule or serve? Oriola smiled each time. His answers slid away like water.
A man does not appear from nowhere.
Oh, he's so handsome and so rich too. I know he's amazing. He's the best.
But no one could
Who
pin
is
him
he?
down. No story contradicted another because there was no story at all.
Do not
By
follow
evening,
wealth that
every
has no
household
roots.
had gathered their
Yes,
daughters.
Baba.
Warnings echoed through the village. One by one, the girls obeyed. Desire burned, yes, but fear burned stronger. Even those who admired Oriola kept their distance. All except one. When Olajumoke heard the announcement, her heart leapt, not with fear, but excitement. A man like that, she thought, was meant for someone like her. She laughed.
You will not go near that man.
Father, are you afraid of shadows now?
I know what I want.
Jumoke, please listen to me.
I hear you, Father. Really.
That night, her parents spoke long into the dark. They listed reasons, they pleaded, they warned. Olajumoke listened with her body present and encouraging words ready, but her mind was already elsewhere. By morning, she had made her choice. When Oriola returned to the village square, Olajumoke stepped forward before anyone could stop her.
Gasps rippled through the crowd. Her parents froze.
So you're the
Oriola's
one.
eyes lingered
My
on
bride.
her longer than they had on anyone else. And then he
So you're the
smiled.
one.
The wedding
My
was
bride.
arranged quickly. Too quickly. No songs of joy
Olajumoke,
filled
do
the
you
air,
accept this union?
only
I
forced
accept,
smiles and
and I
restless
accept.
glances.
The rights are complete.
Olajumoke dressed like a queen, while her parents watched as if attending a burial. On the day she was given away, Mrs. Oyedeji wept openly.
Child, if you must
Olajumoke
go,
did not look
remember
back.
us.
Oriola refused the parents' request to follow immediately. He promised to send for them in 3 days. The journey began at dawn. They traveled far, farther than Olajumoke expected. Forests thickened, paths narrowed, the air grew quiet, as though birds themselves were holding their breath. On the 3rd day, they reached a stream. The water was still. Too still. Oriola stopped. He stepped into the water first. Then something changed. The man beside her straightened and shifted. A sound like wood cracking filled the air. Oriola bent, calmly removing a leg, placing it on the riverbank as though it were clothing. Then an arm. Then another.
Someone help me!
Olajumoke screamed. Piece by piece, the man she had married returned what he had borrowed,
Someone help me!
until only a rolling head remained on the other side of the stream, and it spoke.